And it's official. I am close to the end. I'm in the final stretches. That's right. That's right. Over 50 hours of fasting in this week's 72-hour fast as we move towards the final stretch. And as I was going through this process, I started to wonder, hey, maybe I should end the fast early. And sometimes, as we're going through a fast, regardless of the length of time, we get to the end, we get close to the end, and our brain starts creating those scenarios, starts creating that story. Oh, maybe we should end it early. Oh, the family is eating. As a matter of fact, we were. I was when I came home, I was smelling the stuff that my wife was making in the kitchen, and I was tempted, y'all. And so I thought, how do I get through this process? And one of the things that I do is I start to begin thinking about the benefits of fasting. What are the things that I'm seeing? What's my why? And we've talked about that before. And so now we're going to talk about what are some of the benefits that we get from fasting. As we're sitting in this space and we may be tempted to break the fast early or to come off of the plan, I want to give you some thoughts to go through as you're thinking about what we're doing in fasting. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to get off medications and improve their metabolic health. If you're new to me, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that we are happy. We're glad that you are here. If you do have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, in the chat as we move through the show, through this episode of the show, and we'd be glad to get to those so that we can answer them for you. Welcome, whatever platform you are on right now, wherever you find yourself, whether it's Instagram or Twitch or LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course here on here on YouTube and on Facebook as well. Glad that you are joining us. As you know how we do, I've got my monitors that we'll take a look at here. I've got my glucose monitors that we'll take a look at, also looking at my ketones. And then right down below, you see that is my Dexcom Clarity report that we will take a look at in just a little while to see what's been going on with my blood sugars. If you've been following us, you know that we've been doing several things in this space. We'll come back and we'll talk about the overall for what we're doing tonight and why we're doing tonight. But if you've not gone yet to our YouTube channel and watched the last several shows that we've done on what's called the COPE model, COPE. This is what we're using to help us through those times when our amygdala, that is that basal brain, gets hijacked and we're in the intensity of an emotion, something that's just happened, some conversation, some feeling that we're having, and we're being tempted to eat, right, as a buffering behavior. We're tempted to eat some food, get some stuff, and we want to cope with it, COPE, rather than buffer, right? And so make sure you get back and watch those. And we've created a playlist that has all of, well, that has the episodes of the COPE model along with the episodes of the heat model. Because remember, the heat model is what we are saying, those things that are pushing us off of our meal plan, right? So that is the playlist that's there, how to deal with emotional eating. Make sure you go back and watch through those shows. All right. So that's what we have on the channel, and of course we are here talking in this space about our fasting. Let me hop over. I do see some of our community members that are out there, so let me say hi. I see Steve is saying hello. Let me let's grab this one. Yeah, how about that? Yeah, let's do this one. So Steve is saying hello, and then Jennifer saying, "Hey, Steve, glad that you are both here." Let me see. Can I do? Maybe I could make those. There we go. Make that bigger. Boom. There we go. So we could see those. All right. Hey, glad that you guys are in the space and hanging out with us. Thank you for coming through. And whichever platform you are on, those of you who may be on other platforms, thank you for being here. All right. So let's go through and I do whenever we are changing something, whenever we're trying to improve something, whenever we're trying to modify something, if we want to know what's going on, we always want to do a check in. And so, in the process of fasting, we do a check in here in this space. And let me kind of set this up a little bit for us. Remember what we're doing. Our goal is to put our diabetes in remission, that is, to reverse diabetes. And we've learned several tools in that process. Tools like emotional intelligence, how to create a meal, how to look at our medications to decide which ones we should be coming off of, which one we may consider starting. Okay, that's an important tool that we learned. We learned how to be mindful eating, the COPE model, the HEAT model. So all of these are tools that we're using, and the intention of the tools is to help us with our diabetes as we turn to putting the diabetes in remission, reversing diabetes, improving our metabolic health. That's the goal. And one of the most powerful tools that we've learned is fasting, right? Whether you're doing 12 and 12 or 16 and 8 or 5 and 2, one meal a day, alternate day fasting, or extended fasting, as we've been doing here on the channel, you can get the benefits of fasting. And so, what we want to talk about in these check-ins is what are some of the thought processes? What are some of the ways that we can go about being successful in our fasting? And so, on the channel, you'll see we also have a playlist that's called "How to Fast Successfully." Now, there are a whole host of concepts, whole host of things that we can talk about and go through, and you can go through and you can watch those there on the channel. But each time I come on, I want us to have a conversation about some of those things that are happening in our lives, some of those things that we face, and sometimes we think, hey, we're the only ones. But here we will let you know that you're not the only one, right? We all have those. And as we work in the community, as we share those with each other, then we're setting ourselves up for success because community is huge. Community is so important. So these fasting check-ins are really to kind of give you information, to have conversations about thoughts and things that you may be thinking and feeling or experiences that you're having, and just to put some light on those so that we can do that successfully. Okay? So that's what the check-ins are for. And as we check in, remember I said if we want to change something, modify it, improve it, pivot, assess it to see how it's going, we want to do a check-in. Anything that you're doing, you want to always do a check-in. And in this space, when we talk about check-in, we're talking about how we're feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so I do that to let you know what's been going on. And so, as I said, I am now almost 51 hours into this week's fast. And so as I do my 72 hour, right, I'm 2/3 of the way in, this is a great time to kind of assess all of these. But wherever you are, in whatever space you are, whatever fasting process you are going through, then you can also do this because it's important to know how your body is, how your thought processes are, and so forth, right? And is it working, and should we make changes? Well, so physically, how am I doing? Physically, I am a little tired today, right? So it's been a long day. I came home, had to actually do some things at home for work. All right, so I was on the phone with one of my team members as we finished up some things, and of course now doing the show. And then I've got a recording that I've got to do after this, because remember, on Friday, not tomorrow, on Friday, our review of fasting is going to be pre-recorded. So I'm going to do that right after this, believe it or not. And so I'm feeling tired. I'm not feeling drained. I'm not feeling exhausted. I'm not feeling lightheaded, sweaty, dizzy, all those things that sometimes come along with that. Of course, I've been doing a good job of hydration, because I know for a fact that when I don't do a good job of hydration, then I run into all kinds of difficulties, all kinds of problems, and I feel weaker. I feel lightheaded. And if you guys remember, go back to some of the shows where I did check-ins, and you'll see some of those. But right now, feeling tired, but I'm not feeling drained. And that is usually the distinction, or that's the distinction I want to make. That I'm tired from not resting, but I'm not drained because my energies are depleted because of the fasting. Okay, and because I'm hydrating, the palpitations I'm not feeling right now. Mentation, how am I feeling mentally? And this goes along with the physical, because if you are not well rested, as you know, if you're tired and you're not well rested, then you're a bit sluggish, right? So your reflexes are a little delayed. Um, I am not quite sure about reflexes, but I'm feeling pretty sharp. Last night I was up late because I did a presentation last night, and then I was up with our show, and then I was up after that doing some laundry, right, getting ready for today, and all the things. So tired, yes. I think I'm feeling pretty clear. I'm not feeling like I'm in a fog, but I can tell that I need to get some rest. Okay, yeah, and then emotionally excited because we're going to be doing some things with my family coming up here in the next day or so, and so that's exciting to me because we get to spend some time together. I'm not going to work. My son is out of school, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time. So that for me is exciting, and so I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling joyous. I'm not feeling anxious or depressed, or any of those things that go along with not having a positive attitude. And so right now I'm feeling pretty positive and excited that I'm able to do this right now and spend time with you. Okay, so that's how I'm doing in terms of my check-in. And like I said, anytime you want to do something, anytime you want to evaluate, you want to make sure that you're doing a check-in with yourself, and those are typically the places where you want to check, right? How I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. All right, and then let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars so we can see where my numbers are. And on the screen coming up there, you should see this is my Libre. And this is my Libre 3. I'm just moving over so I can get closer to my meters. This is my Libre 3, and you'll see my blood sugar there is 72. And so the blood sugar, if you look at the gray or the greenish part in that bottom part, you'll see a white squiggly line that's going through, and that white squiggly line, that's my blood sugar. And for most of the day, right, in the early part of the afternoon, I was right at 100, and then prior to that I was above 100. But for most of the afternoon, starting right around 2 o'clock, I've been below 100, and occasionally I dipped below 70, but kind of been maintaining that, right, according to this. If I scroll over and I take a look at my Dexcom Clarity, you'll see that it has been in the 80s. And if I change that to a 12-hour view, because right now I'm looking at 24-hour, you'll see kind of a similar pattern. Starting here, let's see, right at about 11 o'clock, we were one teens, and that continued to drop until we got to, let me see, when is the first time we went below 100? So right at 240, I was at 100, and then the first time I went below 100 was at 250, then popped back up a little bit into the low 100s, and then it's kind of just stayed below 100, 80s, 90s, and then down to 80, what it is right now. We'll take a look at the full graph when we look at my Dexcom Clarity report, so we can see some of the nuances in there. Also, so let's look over now. And here I have my Keto Mojo meter and my Contour. And the Keto Mojo gives me both blood sugar and ketones, and then the Contour gives me blood sugar. So let's go ahead and let's get, let's get a strip out of here. And as I keep saying, this is the meter we use in the office. So hey, that's the one I use here. So there's my strip for that. And then here I have strips for both blood sugar and ketones. Let's go ahead and open that up. And of course I just dropped the other one. So here is that's my blood sugar strip. And here's my ketone strip, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and open that as well so that I don't have to prick myself again. All right, so they got that. And let's grab my trusty container with my Lansing devices and Lancets. And I'm digging in here because the one I want is right down here at the bottom. So, so these are the ones I've come to have an affinity for. And this is just a twist off, right? So you just twist the top off right here. And you may be able to see, let's see, yeah, let's put it right here. So there's a little needle right there that pricks your finger. And let's go ahead and drop that. And the reason I like it is because I get a good drop of blood. The reason I don't like it is because it's painful. It hurts more than some of the others that I've used. So let's get a good spot. Let's do over here. And I don't use the Lansing device that comes with it. I just take it and I poke my finger, and I think that probably got me a good drop. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. All right, and let's get a drop for the contour. And you'll see my blood sugar 90 according to the Keto Mojo. And while that's doing, I'm going to go ahead and keep milking this. So 84 according to the contour. And on the screen, you'll see that my Dexcom says that right now I'm 80. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out and get my ketone strip in there before the blood dries. And go ahead and get that started. There we are. Okay. And of course, as I always do, I tease you guys. So if you think you know what it is, last night Steve guessed right on the money. He was right on target what my ketones were. They were 0.6. I think, yes, 0.6 last night. I have to remember when we did that. So whatever you think it is, go ahead and drop that in the comments. I'm moving that off so you don't see that quite yet. Okay. All right, and so let's hop into our conversation. So 50 hours, right? The home stretch, as you heard me saying, got home, and I have been actually thinking more about food today. Well, let me back up and say that a little differently. So as I have been fasting the last couple of weeks, the coming to the end of the fasting have been a little bit more of a struggle than they have been previously. Okay. And part of that is because I was anticipating the food, right? So I wasn't hungry, but there were things associated with me ending the fast. Okay. So whether it was somebody that brought something to the office that I now had and I was anticipating eating it when I ended the fast, or like last week, I was actually cooking for a function, right? So I was making some food for the function, and I had to delay my cooking it because I knew if I cooked it earlier in the fast, then I would want to taste it and all the things that go along with that. So I delayed it until closer to the end of the fast. But as I was getting towards the end of the fast, I was anticipating that, okay, I'm going to be cooking, and the dish I was making, curry chicken, and I actually make a pretty good curry chicken. At least I like it. Actually, no. Last week it was jerk chicken. The week before it was curry chicken. So so I was making jerk chicken, and I was just anticipating. There was some new things I was going to do with it, and the flavor and the taste and da da da. And so as I was coming into the end of the fast, I was beginning to think more about it. This week, it was even more pronounced, even though I'm not cooking this week, and nobody brought anything. Well, they did bring something yesterday. There's these cookies, the hump cookies is what I call them. I'm not going to tell you where they're from because some of you will run out and get them. But they're in the office on the refrigerator. But as I anticipated time with my family, anticipated, some of the things we're going to be doing and eating, and so I began thinking more about food. So when I came home and my wife was cooking and I smelled, or the aroma hit me, then I started thinking, okay, maybe I could break the fast early this week because, right? And so I started creating all those things. And then I started thinking about the benefits. What are the benefits that I get from fasting? And so I said, well, this is a good conversation for us to have. And we've talked about benefits of fasting before, but let's hop through. Let's go through and let's spend some more time doing that. And fasting is once again one of those tools, one of those powerful tools that we are learning because it hits all of the pillars that we want, that we talk about. And the pillars are, right, decrease insulin, suppress the appetite, and of course reduce the sugar. So those are the pillars. But what are other benefits that we get from fasting? Right. So we want to talk about several groups of benefits. Number one, we get some metabolic benefits. Metabolic benefits. And what does that mean? So metabolism has to do with how the body functions, how the body works. And we've talked about metabolic diseases like diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease. And so what are some of the metabolic benefits that we get? Well, number one, you'll see there improved insulin sensitivity. And that one for this space, because we're talking about diabetes, that one makes a lot of impact in what we do, right? So number one, improve insulin sensitivity. What does insulin sensitivity mean? Insulin sensitivity means that when we fast, we are able to use less insulin to maintain good glycemic control. When we talk about insulin resistance, which is what everybody says when it comes to diabetes, right? Type 2 diabetes is an insulin resistant disease. I think there are some other phrases that fit it better. It's actually hyperinsulinemia. In other words, you have a lot of insulin in your body as a type 2 diabetic, but the insulin is ineffective to do what it needs to do. And so how do we get the insulin that your body already makes to become more efficient? And that's what insulin sensitivity is. That is getting the insulin to do a job when right now it doesn't. And so as we fast, then your body becomes more insulin sensitive so that it can use less insulin for the same job. Now, why does that happen, right? It should make sense. Because if we are decreasing the amount of sugar we're taking in, right, that's the third pillar, then we don't have to use as much insulin. And so the insulin can now go to do other things in the body. Because we're not putting in that much sugar, then the insulin that I have on board can go deal with other blood sugar issues that are in the system because it's not getting it from the outside. Make sense? And if I am reducing my appetite, that means I'm not craving those highly processed, high carb, high sugary things. And so I'm not craving it, so I don't eat it. If I don't eat it, then my blood sugar goes down. If my blood sugar goes down, then I don't have to use as much insulin. So insulin sensitivity. Right? The other thing is fat loss and weight management. And this one is the huge thing that we all talk about. And this is because what we're doing is we're switching over from burning carbs, we're switching over to burning fat. And so as the body is using up the carbohydrates, the stores that you have, the sugar that you have, then it has to turn to something else for energy. And the next thing that's available is what's in the fat cells. And so the body begins breaking that down. And so what we have is we have weight loss. Weight management, another phrase, right? So let's go back. Let's bump back up to the first idea of insulin sensitivity. Well, how does that also play now into my weight management? Well, if my insulin is lower, then my appetite is not stimulated. If the appetite is not stimulated, then I don't eat. If I don't eat, then I am actually now telling the body, in order for you to get energy, you've got to go get some of the stored energy that I have, and you've got to use that now to function. And so the body is now burning up the fat cells, those adipose tissues, and it's using that for energy, and so our weight begins going down. Also, because insulin is lower, because I don't have to use as much, then the signal that insulin sends out to store energy, that is weight gain, is not there. So that system now gets changed from storage to burning, right? So fat loss and weight management. And then the other metabolic, and there are several other metabolic issues that we can deal with, but these are some of the top ones. It boosts our human growth hormone. So growth hormone is that hormone that helps to maintain muscle mass and energy. And we did a show in check-in last night on muscles and fasting. So human growth hormone is the hormone that helps us preserve the muscle mass. And so when we're fasting, one of the metabolic benefits is that we have increased human growth hormone, or growth hormone. Take the human off of it. So growth hormone, we have increased growth hormone, and as a result, we get more metabolically active muscles. And metabolically active muscles burn more calories than muscles that are not metabolically active. Right? So muscles that are exercising burn more calories than muscles that are not. So if you're sitting around on the couch, yes, you're burning some energy because the muscles need energy. But if you're in the gym, if you're on a treadmill, if you're walking down the street, right? If you're jogging, if you're swimming, if you're playing tennis or golf or basketball or handball for my people from New York, or racquetball, any of those things, then those muscles are burning energy. And exercising muscles, particularly if you're doing strength training, long after you end the activity, then those muscles are still metabolically active, and they're burning calories. Right? So that's one of the reasons that I tell people, when you're exercising, you need to mix it up. So yes, do the aerobic, but also do some strength training exercises in there, right? Because you get those metabolically active muscles. So metabolic benefits of fasting. The other group is cellular and longevity benefits. So here's where autophagy comes in, right? So we talk about autophagy all the time. So autophagy, eating self-eating. Autophagy is activated and supercharged during fasting. It's also charged by exercising and all those types of things. But here we're talking about fasting. But when autophagy happens, autophagy is the process that the body has to clean up and recycle damaged, broken, unused, misshapen parts of itself, and recycle those and create new parts. So it is the recycling process. So when we're fasting, then we get autophagy that activates. Autophagy is in the process of cleaning up the cells, repairing cells, recycling damaged, broken, unused parts of our bodies, and bringing those back as new, more efficient, and improved versions of those cells. Okay? So cellular improvement. And then longevity. Hey, let's talk about that one, longevity. So one of the things that studies are showing is that when people fast, there are hormones that come out. There are changes that go on in their metabolism, changes that go on in their cellular, bone, skin structure that can promote longer life, that promote longer functioning of different parts of our bodies, organs and cells, right? And I'm waiting for the day when they tell me, hey, if you fast, then you can add another 2 years. I'm waiting for that day, right? We're not there yet, but all of the studies are showing that we can extend the benefit or extend the life of certain cells by fasting. That is incredible. That's incredible. And to think that autophagy was something that was just now discovered, it probably was there, but it was a Nobel Prize was given to it for it just a few years ago, right? More than a few, probably 2016 or thereabouts. Okay, so increased longevity, and then stem cell regeneration, and this goes along with longevity and cellular repair and so forth. Remember, stem cells are those cells that we can use to generate other parts of the body. Right. So stem cell, for people who have cancers, for example, they want to do stem cell transplants. For many of the transplant types of things that they're working on, then stem cells are where they start. So I can take a stem cell and I could program it to become something else. So when we fast, then the fasting process helps to regenerate stem cells. And that has implications for so much. Neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, huge. Diseases like multiple sclerosis, neuropathy, right? Because we're regenerating cells that then the body can use to create other types of cells or other parts of parts of our body. Okay? So cellular and longevity benefits. The other group of benefits we get are mental and emotional benefits. And we did a show, one of our check-ins where we talked about the clarity that comes. And the clarity comes because the body now has a steadier, a cleaner source of energy. Remember, blood sugars fluctuate, right? You eat, and then a couple hours later, then that goes down, and the body has to get it out of the liver and convert it back into sugar. But when we start burning fat, and that fat is being turned to ketones, that's a steadier source of energy, and so the brain likes that. Also, there are certain hormones that are changing when we fast, right? So the insulin levels go down, the satiety and the hunger hormones change and get regulated. And so it provides some clarity, right? So we're not worried about food anymore. Also, emotional resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back in the face of anything that's going on. So that resilience says that, hey, that didn't work out, but I could change. Resilience is enhanced during fasting because when you're fasting, you don't have food as a buffer. And so you have to face the things that are coming. The emotions that come towards you, you have to face those. And so fasting helps us to become more emotionally resilient because all we have is the fasting, right? The crutch that we were using before, which for a lot of us is food, I'll say for me, we don't have that anymore. So we have to face the issues head on. And then fasting helps us with stress management. When we are fasting, right, if you are following what we're talking about as we're in this space, we're talking about being mindful, being emotionally intelligent. We're talking about self-care. All of those things are components in helping to manage stress. How do I stay present in this space? How do I cope rather than buffer? All of that gets implemented during fasting. And once again, because you don't have the buffering tool, food, you have to face it and you have to deal with it. So your stress levels can improve during fasting if you're following the things that we're talking about, following the protocol, following the plan. Okay? And then the other things we get are other health and disease prevention. Other health and disease prevention. So when it comes to heart disease, remember we've talked about heart disease. So fasting decreases insulin. It reduces sugar. When we are fasting, then what we're doing is we're improving our metabolism. Remember, high insulin can cause our blood vessels to be less compliant, less flexible. That leads to high blood pressure. When our liver gets full, right, because the insulin is trying to pack it, it's a storage hormone. But when insulin goes down, then we're not trying to push all that stuff into the liver, and so our cholesterol levels improve. Right, because the liver's full. I guess let me say that. The liver's full, and so the body now is trying to shuffle that off somewhere else. But because our insulin level has gone down, because we've reduced sugar, then we're not packing the liver. And so the liver now has capacity to take in some of those other components that would show up as cholesterol. Another benefit we get is diabetes management. Right? Diabetes management. When we're fasting, our blood sugar levels go down. And you saw here for me, as I've been fasting, my blood sugar levels have gone down. And as blood sugars go down, the amount of insulin my body has to produce goes down. And so I become insulin sensitive. So fasting itself, by itself, if done correctly, can help you reverse diabetes. I want you to think about the pillars. Decrease insulin, suppress appetite, reduce sugar. If those three things are done, then that is what we get. Or the reversing diabetes is what we get. And so being able to be in that space, so improve diabetes management. And then cancer prevention. And this goes back to autophagy, decreasing inflammation, all the processes that the body has. So what the cells do when autophagy starts, the body goes out and it finds those cells that don't belong. It finds the cells that don't belong. And it gobbles them up. And I think I've used the illustration of Pac-Man, Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man back in the day. The body's just out there gobbling up those parts that don't belong, the parts that are damaged, the parts that might turn into cancer. So we're catching it before it happens. And there's some studies that show that when we fast, it preps our bodies to have better results, better effects, better changes as a result of chemotherapy. For those people who have cancer that are being treated, when they fast, the chemotherapy, the treatment, the cancer treatment that they're getting is enhanced and they do better. Right? So health and disease prevention, huge, huge. And all of those are benefits to fasting. So as I'm sitting and I'm thinking, okay, let me break my fast, and I begin going through the process of, okay, these are the benefits I'm getting. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Right? I can visualize me ending the fast tomorrow. Right? 72 hours, maybe 96 hours. We'll see. Right? But we've got to revisit our why, right? Always, right? What is the why? And then what are the benefits I'm getting? One of the questions that my wife told me to ask myself whenever I am tempted, use the word tempted, whenever I'm triggered, is she said, what would your future self say to your current self if you did what you're about to do? And I think about that. It helps me, right? What is my future self going to say to me? Like if I break my fast now and I eat whatever it is, what will my future self say to my current self? Is my future self going to say thank you for doing that? And usually the things I'm about to eat, my future self would not say thank you. Would not say thank you at all. It would say some other things, right? But that's a question to ask. Okay, we can come back to that conversation in just a minute. I want to hop over and say hello. I do see some folks out there, and let's see. Let's grab this one. So Steve is guessing 1.8 for my 1.8 for my ketones. And Jamsek is saying, hey, Jamsek, thank you for coming through. And Jamsek is over on Twitch. You guys will see that's the Twitch logo. And of course, Steve and Jennifer are over here on YouTube. Yeah, so for all my Twitch folks, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. I'm glad that you are here as well. Okay, so yeah, so back to this. So as we are moving through the space of fasting, the heat model gives us the triggers, right? Habits, emotions, access, and taste. And to combat those, we've been using the COPE model, right? So COP, clarify, observe, pause, process, pick, and execute. But in all of those components, C, O, P, and E, within all of those is built in at the beginning a pause. And the pause is a crucial step. And we're going to come back and we're actually going to spend an entire show, maybe a couple of shows, talking about pausing and what that means and how it works and all that. But pausing is that moment when we interrupt the automatic process of having something happen and then go directly to buffering. There's a split moment right in there that allows us to allow the prefrontal cortex to come back into play. And this is, I was telling somebody this just today, and we've talked about it here. So most people think when on the shows they're doing those paddles, when somebody's down and they put it on the chest and they go, right, and charge it up to 360. Most people think that we're stopping or we're starting the heart, that we're jump starting the heart. That's not actually what we're doing. We're actually stopping the heart. We are stopping the cells because what we want to happen is we want the cells that are supposed to be in charge, we want them to restart and to take over. Because right now everything is like going haywire. And so the pause that we do, right? Like I was coming home and I smelled it and I thought to myself, okay, let me pause. Take a breath. Okay, what are the benefits? Now notice what happened. Once I paused, then I picked a new thing, a new way of dealing with what was going on other than eating. Okay, what are the ways, what are the benefits I'm getting? And once I went down that path, it was easier for me to say, okay, yeah, I'm continuing the fast. So that pause is so important. Okay, so we gotta pause. All right. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at my monitor, and not my monitor, but my report. Let's hop over there and let's pull that back up. Here we go. And so here is my this is my Dexcom Clarity report, and you'll see there that, and let me get my mouse up so that you guys can see as I'm pointing. There we go. And you'll see there that my average blood sugar over the last 2 weeks is 130. My time in range is 84%. Target being 70 to 180. And my glucose management indicator is 6.4. So if I were to get an A1C, now, based on these numbers, my estimated A1C is a 6.4. Remember that glucose management indicator is an estimated number, okay? So it can be a little different from what you actually get when you get an A1C. If I change this to a 14-day look, sorry, not 14, but a 90-day, so 3 months, my average blood sugar is 134. I'm in target 87% of the time. Same target range, 70 to 180. My glucose management is a 1/10 of a point higher at 6.5. So if I were to get an A1C based on this number, then it would be a 6.5, or estimated to be an A1 6.5. Now let's take a look at my daily graphs. And I started fasting on Monday, right? So Monday, right after our show, so we'd eaten right in there, and so right after our show, we started fasting, and you'll see there 125-ish is what my blood sugar was, right around here. And so 24 hours later, blood sugar of 97. And notice that for most of this day, right, so we were 150, because the top of I set mine to 150. The graph doesn't show it quite here, but this is about 150 right here, right? So if my blood sugar were there, you would see it. So 150, so we were 150 or less for most of the day. So that was yesterday. And then as I came into today, right, so we're in the 80s. And for this one, we spent most of our day, I spent most of my day at about 100 or a little bit above, right? So right here, it got up to about 115, maybe 120. But for most of the day, I was spending the time at 100 or below. Definitely for the latter half of the day, right, starting right about noon, or maybe a little later, I was 100 or less. So maybe right here about 250, I think was when I went, yeah. Right, 250, I went below 100 for the first time. And then for the rest of the evening, right, we stayed in the 80s. And then, of course, on the screen, you'll see maybe pop up my Dexcom Clarity right now, or my Dexcom app. And you see my blood sugar right now is 82. Okay, and so that's what I would expect. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at, and I think Steve, what was your number? 1.8. 1.8. So yesterday it was 0.6. And Steve says he thinks it's going to be 1.8. So let me go ahead and pull my Keto Mojo app up. And let's get my, there we go. Let's get this guy over here. So this is my Clarity, my Keto Mojo. Let's go ahead and turn that on. And then we will get it synced. And drum roll. Drum roll. Okay, so you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's see what it is. And right now, okay, so glucose was 90 and my ketones are 1.0. 1.0. So let's take a look at the graph. And here on the graph, the turquoise line, excuse me, the turquoise line is, those are ketones. The dashed turquoise line. And the tan line, that is my blood sugar. So as I ate, you'll see the tan line went up. And as it went up, the turquoise line, the dashed line came down. But then as I started fasting, notice that the tan line now is dropping. Right, so it went from up here at 118, then down to 109, then down to 891, and then of course what it is now at 90. But as that number went down, notice that the turquoise line, the dashed line, started going up, right? Well, it went down here, and then it started climbing. So 0.1 was when we checked in on Monday during the show, and then 0.6 when we checked in yesterday during the check-in, and then now 1.0, right? So for glucose, insulin, ketones, let me go through that. So ketones and insulin cannot be in the same space. So when I treat patients for diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a diabetic emergency, a glycemic emergency, when they come in, one of the things that we do is we put them on fluids, right? Because what we're doing is flushing out the ketones. But then the next thing that we do is we give them insulin. And the insulin, usually people think that we're giving insulin to bring the blood sugar down. It's not to bring the blood sugar down. Now, it helps with that. But I'm not giving insulin because I want the blood sugar coming down. I'm giving insulin because I want the ketones to go away. And how do we make ketones go away? We put insulin in. Because what happens, the insulin now takes the sugar and puts it in the cell so the cell can use sugar now and the cell stops burning fat. So insulin in the body turns off the fat burning process. Right? Basically, it's like having a fire in your fireplace and then coming and putting a wet towel, well, more than a wet towel, maybe a wet blanket over it. What happens? It douses it. And so the fire goes out. So once insulin shows up, then the body switches from burning fat because it doesn't do that anymore. And so now what we get is the body starts to burn sugar. And so when insulin shows up, then the ketones have to go away. All right, and so that's what you saw, and that's what you are seeing right now in on the graph. When we talk about ketones, ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 is considered therapeutic ketosis. So when we see people who are having a ketogenic diet, people who are fasting and want to be in ketosis, as we're talking about fat burning, and here on we talk a lot about ketones, right? So we want ketones to be 0.5 or higher because that's where we're getting that fat burning, switching to ketones, all the benefits that we talk about in terms of ketones and ketosis and metabolic disease and so forth. Okay, so we want ketones to be 0.5 or higher, and right now my ketones were 1.0. And Steve, what were your ketones? What were your ketones today? Steve does I think you said you were doing an extended fast, a longer fast. And if you're watching and you're fasting, go ahead and drop yes. Put a yes in the comments. Right? If you're fasting right now, put a yes. And one of the things that I think I wanted us to do as a community is one day we'll start a fast together. Say, hey, come on, this is where we're starting. We're starting this fast, and we'll walk through the day together, right? And just check ketones and check blood sugars, and that would be fun. That would be fun. As a matter of fact, in the office, I asked some patients if they would want to come in to the office to begin their fast or to go through that 24-hour fast, and a lot of people say yes. Yeah, a lot of people say yeah they would because doing it in community gives you a better chance of success. Right? It gives you a better chance of success. Community is very important. In fact, there's one of the things that I was going to do earlier on was to talk about the triple E formula for success. See, I've got my shirt on. And one of the pillars, one of the components of the triple E formula, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, is is encouragement, empowerment. And so, let's see, let me put this one up. All right, so encourage, right? We are stronger together. Encouragement comes from surrounding ourselves with a community that lifts us up, holds us accountable, and keeps us motivated through our journey. Right? That's the power. That's the benefit of community, the benefit of encouragement, the benefit of the space that we are creating. Awesome. All right. So in this space, as we are talking about blood sugars, and we're talking about metabolic health, and we're talking about diabetes, and putting diabetes in remission, and reversing diabetes, getting off of medication, there is sometimes a doubt in our minds as to whether we can do this. Because we've done things in the past, we've tried things that haven't worked, and even with fasting, there are people who I talk to, and their initial reaction is, I can't fast. I said, well, how long can't you fast? And they said, well, I don't think I can go without eating for 10 hours or 12 hours or 16 hours. And I said, most of us do that anyway. A lot of us do that without thinking of it as fasting, right? So you go to sleep, you wake up, you don't have breakfast. You don't have breakfast until lunch. That's, for a lot of people, that's a 12-hour, sometimes a 14-hour fast. Right? And we'll talk more about fasting, as we do our review. But remember that you have the ability to chart your destiny. You have within your grasp, built into you, the ability to chart the destiny. And all we've got to do is tap into it because you have unlimited potential. Your potential, the abilities that you have, are unlimited. And so you can make a change right now to set the course for the future. The past is done. We can't do anything about it. It is what it is. You may have made some decisions, some choices that, yeah, you look back now. I look back now like, man, that probably was not the best idea. But from this moment, we can make a change. We can make a change to improve our destiny, improve our future. And we do that with the Triple E formula for success. We empower us, right, with tools. We encourage us with community. And we educate us with the shows that we do. And that's the Triple E formula for success. Education, empowerment, and encouragement. Education through the shows, education through the podcast, education through the blogs, the conversations that we have, empowerment with the tools that we learn, and lots of tools that we're learning. One of them right now we're using is fasting. And then encouragement through the community that we are part of. Just like I said, we are stronger together. We're stronger together. And that comes from the Triple E formula for success. Remember, there are some things that push us in a direction to eat, to get off of our plan, to get derailed, as some people say. Don't like that phrase, but we use it. Right? So habits, the routines that we've gotten into, that we just eat because, not because we're hungry, but eat because that is what we do. We eat because that's everybody's eating right now. It's lunchtime. Somebody comes over and we hang out together and we eat and we, all those things are routines. They're not having anything to do with hunger. And we eat because of emotions. When we're too tired, too bored, too frustrated, too mad, too depressed, all of those emotions will push through our thoughts and our decisions to not eat. And we go back to buffering behavior. And then we eat because of access. We just have things around us. And I try not to keep a lot of stuff around me. I've got some 4 jars of peanuts that I bought last week, as you guys saw one of the check-ins. And actually, that's been good, right? So I have not been eating them like crazy. And that is one thing I'm learning. So if it's cashews or almonds, they would have been gone. But peanuts, I like them, but it's not quite the same. Okay? I think the almonds are like crunchier, more crunchy. So anyway, so access. And then we eat because of taste. The perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat, the bliss point. When the manufacturer creates that product, they create it in a way so that when you eat it, you can't just have one. You got to go back and get more. Most of us don't eat one cookie. We eat 2 cookies or 3 cookies. We eat the whole sleeve. We eat crackers. We eat cheese. Right? God forbid, when I get some cheese, the little pack, there are 11 slices. Why would you put 11 slices in a pack of cheese, by the way? That's a whole nother conversation. Right? So why not 10 or 12? Why 11? Where does it get 11 from? Anyway, sorry. So if you're out there, can you put another slice or take one away? But when I get the pack of cheese, the slices, like I go get one, and I come back in here, and then it seems like half an hour later, I go and I get one. And I'm not getting one, I'm getting 2, right? Because my brain says, hey, if you get 2, it's going to be easier. You just eat and be done. And before I know it, like I'm halfway through the slice, the pack of cheese. And then I eat 1 and 2 at a time. And then there's always that. That's why I'm peeved about the 1, because there's always that one single slice left. Either there should be no slice left, or you should have 2 slices. So you go, good. Anyway, sorry. Right? We eat because of taste. Remember, we're not chasing the food. We're chasing what the food does for us. We're chasing the position it puts us, the memories that it brings back. We're chasing the mood, the mindset that it seems to bring, that temporary relief that it seems to give us. So that's what we're chasing, not the food itself. And I know you like whatever you like, but it's doing something for you. That's why it's so hard, because it's providing some benefit. And then remember our pillars for reversing diabetes. We decrease insulin, we suppress appetite, and we reduce sugar. If we do those 3 things, and if we do them consistently, if we do them over time, then diabetes improves. Diabetes, metabolic disease gets better, and we can reverse diabetes. Come on now, come on, right? Reversing diabetes. So that's what we're doing here on this platform. And then our call to action is this. When you get here, Join the challenges. Don't let them just be things that you see or you do or you listen to, sorry, but make sure that you are doing them. When you hear it, when it's on a piece of paper, that's all it is. It's on a piece of paper. But it doesn't take life until you activate it. Once you start doing something, once you start get into the action of doing it, then it takes life. Number 2, when you come, tell your story, share your story. Like Steve just said, I think he said that this morning his ketones were 2.5, and no, sorry, it's 2.5 now, and then this morning it was 1.7 as he checked it during the show. So share your story. There are people out there in our community that have lost weight. I've lost weight. You've seen my story, right? You're going to see, if you come to our community meetup on the 31st, you're going to see the results of that. We're going to share my blood work with you. Come on, take a look, right? So share the story, share your successes. When you have challenges, let us know that as well, because we can rally around you. You know that you're not by yourself at that point, and we know that we are in community and we are not by ourselves. We are stronger together. And then invite someone. Don't just keep this to yourself. There are over 1 billion people on the planet right now that have diabetes or prediabetes. You could be a voice of change. You can be a voice to say, hey, we can improve. There's a place that we can go where we can learn, where we can begin setting the course, setting the destiny for our health. Our family does not have to keep having heart attacks. We don't have to keep going on dialysis. We don't have to keep losing limbs. We don't have to go blind. All of those complications. And you could be a voice that says, no, we can be different. We can do something different. Okay? All right. And I always say I am excited to be here with you, excited to be in this space because you are an amazing community. I love the benefits that you're getting. I love the richness that you bring to this space. And I get to say that I have a support group that is incredible, and that's amazing. Make sure you join us for our check-in tomorrow as we do our review of fasting. All the things that you need to do to prepare for the fast, to get through the fast, and of course to end the fast, right? So breaking the fast. On Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central, we'll be having the videos from the vault. And then on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Central, we'll have This Week in Review. Make sure you join us also on Monday as we come back in the space on Dwain Woode MD Live at 7 p.m. Central. Glad that you're here. Thank you for joining me. And always, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Let me say that again. My voice is going. Here we go. Always, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. Good night, everybody.